All right. So I am live here. It is Monday at noon Eastern Standard Time, April 11th, 2022. So yesterday, the Philadelphia 76ers finished their regular season off. And the NBA regular season finished off yesterday. We finished off with the W against the Detroit Pistons, 118-106. Now, obviously, it was a meaningless game either way. And the one thing we did get out of it yesterday, though, is however, because Joel Embiid didn't play, and because some of our main guys weren't playing, we did get some of the younger guys got some more playing time. Yeah, so we got Paul Reed and Shake Milton got more playing time yesterday. And in that playing time they got, so we had Shake Milton scored 30 points, Paul Reed 25. Now, granted, this was against the Detroit Pistons, though. But at the same time, the way I looked at it, I was thinking about it. I'm like, well, we should have been playing these guys earlier in the season against teams like the Pacers and the Pistons or the Orlando Magic. We should have been playing the guys like the Paul Reeds and Shake Miltons, giving them more playing time against those teams. And the reason I say is because if you're going to give some of your younger guys some playing time, give them an opportunity to develop, you want to give them the opportunity to develop against teams where they have favorable matchups, like the Pistons, for example, because that way you expect them to go out there, play good in situations where they have a favorable matchup to help them get their confidence up. And then once you get their confidence up, you feel like you can incorporate them in the lineup a little bit more. So I think earlier in the season, we should have been playing our guys like our Paul Reeds and giving Shake more playing time, and even Isaiah Joe going against those teams to help them get their confidence up so they can fare well in those matchups. But obviously, we waited till our starter guys weren't playing to give those guys playing time, which is a shame. And even let's get to Doc Rivers. Now, he was asked something yesterday. He was said something in a press conference. He asked about Paul Reed getting backup center time in the playoffs. He said, "This is not a Paul Reed victory tour. We're here to win a championship," which clearly right there, Doc Rivers is saying he doesn't believe in Paul Reed. Obviously, he's saying he doesn't believe that Paul Reed's the right guy to help get playoff minutes. Now, he has a habit of doing this. He doesn't show faith in a lot of young guys at all. This has been a trend throughout Doc Rivers' career, and that was one of the big disappointments of the 76ers season. I mean, even with being the number 4 seed in the Eastern Conference, having a playoff spot clinched again, this was still a disappointing regular season in my eyes, which I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, Doc Rivers saying that it clearly shows that he doesn't have faith in certain young players. He doesn't give them the playing time to properly develop, and he has a history of poorly developing some of these guys, which is unfortunate because the younger guys are the guys you're going to need going forward as a franchise. And the best way to develop them is you got to give them playing time and help them learn from through playing. It's as simple as that. The more playing time you give these guys, the more time they had to learn. Now that we're finally getting to the point late in the regular season where the Sixers had no choice but to play these guys, that's the only all we get. That's the only time we see these guys get playing time is when they have to. When they have to. When guys like Paul Reed have to step up because Joel Embiid isn't playing. And it's a shame that it takes that to finally get these guys some playing time. But that's the big takeaway I got from yesterday is it's about darn time we gave some of our young guys playing time, but it took too long. And seeing how they play yesterday, I thought, you know what, they should have done this earlier in the season in favorable situations, help them play to get their confidence up. Now, a game like yesterday could definitely get a guy like Paul Reed's confidence up. Definitely going out there, scoring 25. Yeah, it's against the Pistons, granted, but it's a good way for him to get out there and shine a little bit. Play well in a favorable situation against a team where he's going to look good against. So that way he could get his confidence up. The more you incorporate him in the lineup is what you'd be looking to get out of it. But sadly, with Doc Rivers, I don't think that's going to happen. And we pretty much, Doc Rivers confirmed in the case of Paul Reed, at least, that it's not going to happen in the playoffs. He confirmed that last night, which isn't a surprise there. But yeah, that's the one thing I took away from yesterday's game. I mean, it was a meaningless game anyway. And we did get the dub against the Pistons, so at least we didn't get embarrassed this time. But still, I'm watching, I'm like, see, this is why you want to give these guys some starting minutes. Like I said, that's my takeaway from yesterday's game. Now, as far as the season as a whole, even though we did get the number 4 seed, as a whole, even though we did make the playoffs, even though we did make we get rid of Ben Simmons, we brought in James Harden. Even with all that going on, with all that upside that on paper looks like a great regular season, it was obviously still a disappointment. And Sixers fans, you guys know what I'm talking about. It was a disappointment. I mean, we had constantly letting teams come back in games, not being able to close out games, late in the season struggling to beat good teams. Remember right after the trade deadline, we acquired Harden. When he was first game, he sat out on the bench as a member of the Sixers roster. We got blown out by the Celtics. You remember, was that the first game? Yeah, I believe it was. But we got blown out by the Celtics. It was absolutely embarrassing. I mean, I ended up turning off the TV and ending the live stream early in the third quarter. That's how embarrassing that game was. So we had that right there. Of course, we struggled to beat we struggled to beat the Suns, of course. We couldn't beat the Raptors last week. And we got to play them out in a best of 7 series in the opening round. I mean, late in the season, we were struggling to win those games against good teams. And we had no problems beating teams like the Pacers, and teams like the Pistons. This time around, last night we beat the Pistons. We had no problem beating the Lakers, who didn't even make the play-in tournament. But usually, not all the time, but usually against the top teams like the Milwaukee Bucks, like I said, or even the Toronto Raptors are going to be playing in the playoffs, or the Celtics. Always something. It's always something against those teams, and we didn't pull it off. We had that one victory against the Miami Heat, granted, without Embiid and Harden, where Tyrese stepped up, granted, but that was just one game. Majority of the time we were playing against the good teams, we couldn't come through, so that was disappointing right there. Doc Rivers did a poor job, like I indicated in the first couple minutes of this, helping guys develop like Isaiah Joe, Shake Milton, Paul Reed. He didn't really give him much playing time. He only played him when he had to. So that was a disappointment right there. The only way you're really going to develop a player properly, I kind of hinted at this a few minutes ago, but the only way you're going to probably develop a player is you got to give him playing time. You got to let him get on the court. You got to let him play. You got to let him learn from their mistakes. And that's the way they're going to get better. And you saw Tyrese Maxey last year, even Doc Rivers. He didn't really play him much last year. And Tyrese Maxey, when he got playing time last year, he was playing good for the time he got. He should have got more playing time last year, now that I come to think about it. But then this year, when you had no Ben Simmons, they had to bring in Tyrese Maxey. And you look what happened. Tyrese Maxey easily played most improved player in my eyes. Because he took the minutes he had, and he made the most of it, and he did everything he could to help this Sixers team. So that goes to show you that actually giving your younger guys more playing time can work out, Doc Rivers. It can work out. Now, obviously, they botched it this year with some of the young guys they have currently on the roster, except for Tyrese Maxey. They botched it by not giving them playing time, by not helping them develop. And there is a habit throughout Doc Rivers' career where he doesn't develop the young guys properly. He doesn't give them playing time. He has them sit on the bench a few years, then expects them to be ready. But here's the problem you run into by doing that. Problem you run into by letting the guy sit on the bench a few years. By the time he finally does play, some of his passion may be gone. Some of his will to play may be gone. Maybe. So you might be running the risk of that player caring less about their craft and running into the risk of them underperforming. I mean, it's just a possibility, of course. But that's one possible area where sitting a guy on the bench for a few years can go wrong. And if it gets to the point where you got other starters are constantly underperforming and you're still not going to give these guys even an opportunity, then you could eventually sap their confidence by the time they do get ready to play. So that's the risk that a guy like Doc Rivers can run into. Now, there is the rumors that Doc might be out after the season, which I don't talk about that because I don't have any confirmation that's true. I mean, I personally don't think Doc Rivers is the right guy for this team as their coach. I mean, the only person I can think of right now at this moment that would be a replacement is Mark Jackson, but that's as of right now. I mean, we can talk more about that another time. Yes, as of right now, though, yeah, it's a Doc Rivers. I wouldn't be surprised if he's out of here soon. I mean, I personally would do feel there are better coaches out there than a Doc Rivers. We'll get more into that though. But as far as the rumors go, I'm not buying into it because there's no real confirmation that Doc Rivers might be out and going to become the Los Angeles Lakers coach next year. And who's the other team that was rumored? I know there was one more team that was rumored off the top of my head. I know he was rumored to the Lakers, and there's one other team. I'm gonna look that up right now. Correct, because I know there was the rumor to the Lakers, someone else, but then again, it's just rumors. I know there was that he could replace Frank Vogel as the Lakers head coach. I know possibly the Utah Jazz. That's right, they're the other team. LinkedIn said possibly the Lakers or Utah Jazz. We could be talking about Doc possibly being their coach, but those are just rumors. I mean, I'm not going to buy into it unless. I mean, if we get to the offseason and I hear that now if I get news confirms that Doc Rivers has been fired, well, obviously there's definitely some truth that he's going elsewhere. Because even if he does get fired by the Sixers, someone else will hire him. Someone will, if that happens. But as of right now, I'm not going to buy into the rumors because there's no confirmation of it. Right now, it's just talk and speculation. So we're going to switch gears right here. Now, as far as the season goes, now let's talk about some of the good of the season. The good of the season, well, let's start with the obvious. We got rid of Ben Simmons. We don't have to worry about him anymore. He's the Nets' problem. Obviously, he's got his back issues. They're saying he won't play till April 21st. Well, if they even make it through the play-in tournament, number one. And I get a feeling, though, Ben Simmons might never play in the NBA again. Something just got this feeling he might not play again. But that's all I got to say on that. But we did get rid of him, so he's not our problem anymore. And then obviously we got Tyrese Maxey. He stepped up. Like I said a few minutes ago, I feel he's the most improved player of the NBA season. And you saw Tyrese Maxey. He went out there every game. He was playing his all. He was giving his all. He was playing Party and Embiid on some games. I mean, so he was definitely going out there doing everything he could to help this team. And he was a big contributing factor to this run to the playoffs. So Tyrese Maxey was definitely a positive of this. Joel Embiid led the league in scoring. The first center to lead the lead in scoring since Shaquille O'Neal. So for the first time in over 2 decades, a center leads the league in scoring, and that was Joel Embiid. This guy right here, yep. You've seen enough of these vids. You know whose jersey it is. But yes, Joel Embiid led the league in scoring. And he was the biggest factor to the Philadelphia 76ers making this run to the playoffs. And I asked the poll question, who is the regular season MVP? I gave the choices of Embiid, Jokic, Giannis, or other. If you have another, comment in the chat. If you say with Jason Tatum, comment that in the live chat. But I got that poll there for anyone coming in to vote. You can vote on it. Now, I will say this about Embiid. He's definitely the Philadelphia 76ers team MVP. I mean, he was scoring over 40. He was scoring over 40 on a consistent basis. He was scoring at least 25 majority of the games he played. I mean, he was on fire scoring all season. And he was definitely the regular season. Well, not the regular, 76ers regular season MVP. He was definitely that. So that's a good thing right there. Joel Embiid helped us make this run. That was good right there. What else do we get out of this? There's one thing I wanted to say. I forgot to mention while it's still on my mind. Tobias Harris last night against the Pistons, absolute trash. 3 for 10 with his field goals against the Pistons. Tobias, we can move on from him at the end of this season. I mean, I don't see him helping out much in the playoffs. And last year, he was an all-star. I don't care what the all-star voters said. I don't care what the lineups were for the all-star game. Tobias Harris was an all-star last year, and he was snubbed. But this year, disappointing, absolute trash this year from Tobias. Fouling out, terrible shooting, bad defense, just all-around disappointing year for Tobias Harris, especially compared to last year. All right, I was looking forward to him coming back this year after last year, and he disappointed greatly this year. So I wanted to get that off my mind while it's still fresh up there. But back to the good stuff right there. Like I said, we did get rid of Ben Simmons. Tyrese Maxey stepped up. Joel Embiid showed that he was the real regular season MVP. You even got George Niang. He was solid shooting. Now he wasn't the greatest player in the world, but George Niang, he played solid shooting. He got us some good shot. He got some shots at times. He was had a few games where he was drilling some threes. So we got some good at George Niang there. He was kind of like a valuable six man to us, not the sixth man of the year in the NBA. No, 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 no. But he was a valuable sixth man to the Sixers. So George Niang was definitely a positive about this as well. And the James Harden trade, well, so far it's like, I mean, it's good. I mean, it's good that we got a superstar in Philadelphia, but I mean, now we're at that point. Even then, at times during the regular season, there was a few games with Harden where, like, oh, it was a disappointment. I felt like he disappointed. He could have played better. But now with James Harden, we're at that point where it's playoff time. And we know James Harden's career, he has a habit of underperforming in big games. So now that it's playoff time, I just get that feeling. Just get that feeling, that uneasy feeling that James Harden might underperform now that it's playoff time. So that's something to be concerned with. But yeah, so now we're going to switch gear, talk a little bit more about the 76ers. So we got it now. We got the number 4 seed. We're going to be playing the Toronto Raptors. Got games 1 and 2 are in Philadelphia. Game 1 is Saturday. But here's the thing now. Matisse is not fully vaccinated. Reports just broke, so that means he's not going to be able to travel to Canada. So because of that, we're going to have to go on the road without Matisse, the Bible, and that could play a difference in the series right here. It could. But I know Matisse commented on it. He said he was taught. Like I saw, I'm going to put the link to the article in the description. Give me 1 minute. I'm going to put a description right now because I read a little article about him, about his vaccination. So hold on, where is it? Okay, so it's from philadelphia.cbs.local.com. I'm going to put the link to the article in the comment live chat. So there it is. So there it is right there. You just click, anyone wants to see it, click on the link. You can check it out yourself. So now toward the end of the article, we heard from Matisse what he said about it. So here it goes. I considered deeply all the different avenues. And of course, I accepted that this could hurt money, contract, reputation. But I felt this was the right thing that I needed to do for myself. So he felt like getting vaccinated was not in his best interest. And he took on the chance of possibly losing out on his reputation in the long term or losing out on playing time. So he knew what he was possibly getting into. He took the risk for it. And now he's going to have to face the consequences for it. But then possibly the Sixers could face the consequences for it. Could cost them a game or two against the Raptors in the series. I know Doc earlier in the season said that he recommended everyone get vaccinated to set a good example for the rest of the league and all that. But now Matisse obviously didn't do that. So that could put him possibly, especially if Doc Rivers still comes back next year, that could put him on the outs with the Sixers. And who knows what they're going to do next. But yeah, that's good. But yeah, here against the Toronto Raptors, I mean, after the way we've been playing against good teams these past couple weeks, especially like these past 3 weeks, I gotta say my confidence in this team is starting to go down a little bit. I mean, I still think we can beat the Raptors in the best of 7 series. But I don't know. Based on the way we've been playing against some of these bad teams, I mean, it might possibly even be a 6-game series now. I mean, possibly, maybe even a 6-game series against the Raptors. Who knows? And with the way the Sixers have been playing, there's a good chance that might happen. They might give up a few games, especially having to go into Canada with no Matisse. That could potentially cost us a few games against the Raptors as to where we barely escaped the series. And I know Shaq predicted, I saw Shaq predicted that we're going to get a sweep. I don't see that happening. I think we'll give up, probably going to give up 1 or 2 games in the series. I don't see us sweeping the Toronto Raptors here. Now, I do think we can beat the Raptors here in this series. So that, because I do think we can definitely do that. But then we got the Miami Heat, number 1 seed versus the number 8 seed. So if we do get past the Raptors, we'll possibly have to play, most likely be playing the Miami Heat in the second round. which will probably end up losing that series. That's what I expect coming in for the Philadelphia 76ers entering this playoff right here. Now, against the Raptors right here, now obviously, with the help of Joel Embiid, now we got Tyrese Maxey. He's going to be getting his first playoff minutes, so we're going to see what he can do in the clutch right here now. He had a good regular season run, but now we're going to see what Tyrese Maxey can do when it counts most in the playoffs, and that's going to be the real test right there. But I do have a feeling that, with the help of Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey will do good enough right there. Even George Niang, some of that should at least be enough, and even James Harden, that should at least be enough to get us past the Toronto Raptors in a best-of-7 series. It should definitely do so. Now, there are some concerns, though, about Joel Embiid's health, though. It's question marks on whether he'll play Saturday, but I believe Embiid, he'll be out there. I believe he'll be out there, and he will play. So I do think that. So I think he'll play. Yeah, I don't see him missing time, but he did go out last year and play against the Atlanta Hawks. He risked his health for us in that series last. He risked himself for us there. So I do think he'll do that again this series. With his injury, he'll be back. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that right there. But yeah, overall, best-of-7 series, we should be able to beat the Raptors. And yeah, they got hot late in the regular season, but I do see us getting the dub there. But I don't see us making it past the second round at all. It's only inevitable we're going to lose at some point. And even with some of the injuries we had, even with them, I do see us winning that right there, though. Got the first game Saturday, and then also but the reason we're waiting for the first game Saturday is because we got the play-in tournament. The play-in tournament. That's right. We got the play-in tournament. So, we got tomorrow night, we're going to have the Nets. We'll be playing, we got the Brooklyn Nets. And, excuse me. Oh, yeah, as I was saying, we got tomorrow night, we got the Brooklyn Nets and the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, we got pulling up ESPN, check the exact time. So, tomorrow, TNT, 7 p.m., Nets host the Cavs. Then 9:30, the Timberwolves host the Clippers. So I will be going live to do a play-by-play of that Nets Cavs game at 7 p.m. tomorrow. So I'll create the stream when I finish with this one. Let's get to it. So the Nets and Cavs, let's start with that one. So I think I'm going to have to go with the Nets in this one. Even with a lot of the question marks around them, I'm still going to have to go with them to pull out the win against the Cavs. And the Cavs, we know the Cavs surprised us all. They managed to put it together. You got Jared with, the help of Jared Allen, but I'll get to Jared Allen more in a second. They had throughout the regular season, you had the help of Jared Allen, Darius Garland, rookie Evan Mobley, put up, so those are the main three guys that helped them through this regular season run. But then late in the regular season, once Allen got hurt, all of a sudden the Cavs started to slip and they lost a bunch of games because they were originally in the picture, but then they started to lose some games over the past month and they slipped and fell into the play-in tournament. But I think based off recent momentum, the way the Cavs have fallen off, I'm going to say the Nets are going to win this game right there. So I'm going to pick them to pull it off right there. So I do think you'll get enough from the Nets to at least be able to pull out a win right there. Let me check. Got that right there. I don't really see. Yeah. So I do think the Nets will win that right there. And then the Clippers and Timberwolves. I've had to think about that one a little bit. If some of the Clippers main guys can make it onto the court tomorrow night, which there's some guys are still questionable, so I'm not going to be able to go confidently make a prediction. I'm probably going to say off the top of my head the Timberwolves because there's uncertainty about whether or not some of the Clippers guys can play. But even then with Karl Anthony Towns, we still don't know if he's going to be able to play or not. So, because let's see, what is the injury? I'm going to pull up the injury report right now so I can check it out so I can fully see. Okay, so the injury report right now, so I'm going to pull it up for both the Timberwolves and the Clippers. So let's go. I'm rolling through right now. Let's see. 1 minute. I'm scrolling down right now. So I got CBSSports.com, NBA injuries up. Matter of fact, I'll even put the link to that one in the description as well. If you want to see, just click there. I got the second link in the chat, in the live chat, that is cbssports.com/NBA/injuries. You want to look at screen yourself. So right now, I got Nick Batum, game time decision. Kawhi's not going to be playing tomorrow. Luke Kennard, game time decision. I mean, I do think if some of their guys play, at least if Paul George plays, I do think the Clippers have a shot there. I do think they actually have a shot at least getting past the Timberwolves and that in tomorrow's night's game. Get them in, let's see. And we also got obviously the Timberwolves, so I'm going to pull their in up right now. So we got D'Angelo Russell. He's a game time decision as of now. But I do think that's a tough one right there. Something just tells me, ugh. Who am I kind of going to say? I don't know. I might be tempted to say the Clippers, and Clippers might be able to pull out the surprise. I'm going to go, I'm going to go with the Clippers. I'm going to go with the Clippers right there for that one. So for tomorrow's pick, I'm going to say the Nets based off the Cavs dip lately, that the Nets will pull out the win. And then I'm going to say the Clippers for tomorrow. Then for Wednesday's games, we got Charlotte Hornets and the Atlanta Hawks. We got the New Orleans Pelicans hosting the San Antonio Spurs. I'm going to say the Spurs are going to come out with that one with the upset against the Pelicans. Hawks and Hornets. I'm going to have to go with the Hornets because the Hawks have struggled against quality or in good teams throughout the regular season. So those are my picks for the first 4 playing games right there. So that means then I'm predicting the Pelicans. Then I'm predicting the Spurs to get the win. Then I'm predicting the Spurs then to go on and play the Timberwolves for the number 8 seed. I'm going to pick the Timberwolves to win that right there. Then for the East, then I'm picking the Hornets to play the Cavs for the number 8 seed. I'm thinking the Cavs might be able to pull that one out right there against the Hornets and get the number 8 seed. So my predictions for the play-in tournament are, so for the 7 versus 8 for each conference, to reiterate, Eastern Conference, I got the Nets over the Cavs. And then for the West, I got the Clippers over the Wolves, 9 versus 10. So for that one right there, you're going to have so I'm predicting the Nets to get the number 7 seed in the East, the Clippers to get the number 7 in the West. It's 9 versus 10, East and West. East, picking the Hornets to beat the Hawks, picking the Spurs to beat the Pelicans. So then the plan for the 8. So then the Eastern Conference, that would be the Cavs versus the Hornets. Then I'm predicting the Cavs to get that. So I'm predicting Cavs to get the number 8 seed, play the Miami Heat. Nets to get the 7, play the Bucks. So in the West, the plan for the 8 seed, I'm predicting the Timberwolves to beat the Spurs. So I'm predicting that in the West, 1 versus 8. Suns versus Timberwolves, 2 versus 7. Grizzlies versus, excuse me. So 1 versus 8. Predicting Suns versus Timberwolves, and 2 versus 7. Grizzlies versus Clippers, excuse me. Sorry, I couldn't speak right there for a second. Yeah, those are my predictions for the play-in right there. But to everyone that tuned in this live stream, thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this. And even those that aren't watching live, that are watching it after recording, I hope you enjoyed this. Feel free to drop a like. If you're new and you haven't subscribed, do so and hit that notification bell so you know if I'm going to upload a new video. Also, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section, not the live chat, but in the comment section as well. Feel free to share this. Most of all, have a wonderful day or night. And tomorrow night, remember, 7 p.m., I'm doing the live play-by-play for the Nets Cavs game. and I'll see you for that one. Sticky Steve signing off. Have a wonderful Monday, and I'll see you next time.